So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I wanted to jump on and have a quick little chat with regards to this transfer rumor with regards to Alex Moreno, left back from Real Betis. Rumored to be interested in him before Christmas. Didn't do a podcast on him at the time because he was rumored along with somebody else in Adrian Treffert. But this has come back around again, and it's now being rumored on Mercato by Seb Ekrefan. And also Manu Colcon as well is mentioning that his departure is heating up. Seb Ekrefan Foot, you'll be able to find on Twitter as well, has said that Aston Villa is in advanced talks with Real Betis over a transfer for Alex Moreno. A transfer of around 15 million euros is taking shape, and this is to be continued. So we'll see where this goes. I don't know whether this is actually going to come to fruition or whether it's actually going to be a transfer or not, but it's an interesting one to look at because I wouldn't have put left back as a priority piece for me when I was when I was looking at maybe where players would come in. But Unai Emery is going to have his own views on certain players, certain positions. Maybe he wants extra depth in certain positions. We saw just last night that he brought on Ludwig Augustinsson to come on for Luca Dean. Took Luca Dean off, and Augustinsson was allowed that freedom to go forward. And this is something that Alex Moreno can absolutely definitely bring to the team as well. And we will look at him in a moment. So a little bit on Alex Moreno. He's 29 years of age. He's featured regularly for Real Betis since joining in 2019. He's made over 100 appearances for the club. He makes the left flank his own, playing as a left back or a left winger at times, or a left wing back even, so he can play all the way up along that. Think as well, maybe Emery is looking at something along the lines of maybe playing a bit further forward in front of Dean, or vice versa, or having the two of them being interchangeable. Potentially that might be something that Unai Emery might be looking at. We don't know. But Moreno is a strong defender, and we'll see that in a moment when we take a look at his statistics. And one of the reasons I think, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Luca Dean needs to be sold or that he's not good enough for Aston Villa or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But one of the upgrades that Moreno will bring is that he's a bit more about him in defence, specifically with regards to tackling. And we'll see that when we look at the statistics in a moment. He's a good defender. He's improved as an attacking outlet over the course of the years. He's asked to do different things than Luca Dean would be asked to, but Luca Dean is often at the end of the move to provide that cross into the box. But whereas Moreno is, with regards to him, he's more of a bombing on type of fullback. He's gonna provide that width, but he's also going to try and carry that ball as well when he does get going to contributes on the overlap an awful lot, and he does, you can see by his heat map, and we'll see in a moment, he does like to cut inside a small little bit as well. But with regards to I suppose how he's gone the last few years, he has blossomed into one of La Liga's best left backs. So even though he is 29 years of age, I know a lot of people focus on his age and say, well, maybe we should be bringing in somebody younger, and that may very well be true. But for the short term as well, we need to think about that too. And maybe Ben Chrisane, or maybe somebody along the lines that's in our academy, is very highly thought of. Or maybe they might bring in two left backs, so they might have somebody earmarked for the summer as well. But for now, I think somebody like an Alex Moreno, let's take a little look at him. While it's not an absolute pressing need for Aston Villa, it's important to know what we might be getting if we were to sign the Spanish left back. So let me pop up some slides, as we always do here, and we will take a little look at Alex Moreno. So, as I mentioned there, he was originally linked by Matteo Moretto, and he's been linked by a couple of other people since. Let's see how he pans out in comparison to Luca Dean. So we've got our radar graph here, and the first thing that jumps out here is Alex Moreno there in the yellow colours. Alex Moreno does tackle. He puts in a lot more tackles than Luca Dean does, over 90 minutes. I'm not going to say one of the criticisms I have of Luca Dean is, but he doesn't get back quick enough for me at times. and sometimes he guides players too much to allow them to go around him, if that makes sense, specifically on the edge of the box. And he doesn't tackle as much, and we can see there, he puts in just over 1.2 tackles per game. Alex Moreno puts in 2.31 tackles per game, puts him in the 71st percentile of all defenders or fullbacks, should I say, within Europe. We look at his blocking statistics there and his interceptions. That is not a typo. They are both the same at 1.24 blocks, 1.24 interceptions. Percentages of dribblers tackled is 53.6%. It comes in low on the inverse of the percentiles there that we can see, but the gap between where he is there and the very top is quite short. I can't remember what it is at the moment. Dribble passed and fouls committed, once again, not a typo there. He comes in, he gets dribble passed quite a bit, which is something that I would be worried about. And it is something that led to him being pushed to play as that wing back or even that left midfielder role from time to time, is because he does kind of get beaten around the outside. And that's something I've mentioned about Luca Dean previously, that Luca Dean does tend to get beaten around the outside as well. But this guy tackles, when he gets beaten. Or he gets back to make a tackle as well. Pressure statistics you might see there have made a comeback there. He's put in 14.58 pressures per 90 minutes, which puts him up there in the 72nd percentile, but that success rate has him down to 26th percentile as well. So not always very successful. And that's something that you see from attacking fullbacks that they don't, and specifically people who get dribbled past as well. If you go to pressure in that area, you try and use the sideline as your friend or as an extra defender, sometimes they can skip around you. And if they skip around you, they can be gone off to the races too. Just taking a little look down across the rest of his statistics there. Average enough passing stats for a fullback, as we can see there. Passing attempts 52.75. But what I would say with regards to these is progressive passes, passing attempts, and the pass percentage all put in within the realms of a Luca Dean. And that's something we like about Luca Dean, is his passing ability. His statistics obviously don't stack up from a numbers point of view. When we look at when we put them on a purely statistical basis, but when you're looking on the field, I would never go out of my way to say Luca Dean is a poor passer of the ball, or Luca Dean doesn't have a good enough pass completion rate. And as we can see here, Alex Moreno comes in at the same. So that would lead me to believe that this guy would not look out of place with those statistics either within this Aston Villa Football Club. So there's some really interesting pieces there. As I say, this isn't going to be a very long one on him. He is he's an interesting player. He's a late bloomer. I will admit he's a late bloomer. The last 2-3 years have been some of the best years that he's put down. If they've allowed him to, I suppose, Betis and under Manuel Pellegrini has allowed him to get forward an awful lot more. And they've allowed him to utilize that. He's pacey, you're going to see him get up and down the field. You can even see it there by his heat map that you can see on the screen. That's what I mean about when he likes that little inverted run or an inverted pass. He does like to get in around defenders and take the ball into the box. As you'll know from hearing me talk about the likes of Matty Cash previously, I want fullbacks, I want wingers to drive at defenders. I want us to try and win more penalties that way. And maybe that's something Alex Moreno likes to do. When we look at a Luca Dean, we know that Luca Dean likes to hug the touchline, likes to be that receptacle out there and whip in across. This guy here crosses a 2.34 crosses per 90 minutes, puts him in the 40th percentile, and that is quite lower than a Luca Dean. So this guy gives you something different from that attacking point of view with regards to he's going to complete more dribbles, he's going to dribble with the ball more, he's going to carry that ball more and drive into the box. And maybe that's something that Unai Emery wants, considering the fact that we do cross the ball in, and Dino whips in a fantastic ball, always has done. It's been one of his trademarks. But we don't have massive strikers, and we don't have people who get on the end of those balls. So maybe Unai Emery is looking for a left back or somebody who can maybe change it up a small little bit. Maybe if we want to go into games where we don't want to, where you want to open it up and maybe get in around that defense and have a left back or a left wing back, or maybe play three at the back. God, I'm really talking outside my station by suggesting that. But all these little bits of tactical potential are there when you've got two defenders that, while they defend at a decent rate, these guys do defend differently. We can see here their interceptions and the recoveries are bang on similar. They're almost exactly the same. Alex Moreno has the upper hand with regards to the amount of tackles he puts in per game, and Luca Dean has the upper hand with regards to the amount of crosses, which in turn leads to shot creating actions. If you cross the ball in, you're going to lead to a shot creating action a small bit more, because maybe people will get in the end of it, or maybe people will people will be at the back post. So a lot of the statistical differences you can see from these two players here could be borne out by the styles of play that they're asked to play. Obviously, the La Liga is more of an attacking league than the Premier League, and what I mean by that, it's more of a fullbacks are allowed to possess the ball a small bit more. I know that there are some teams in the Premier League that do that, but Aston Villa aren't one of those teams whereby we allow Luca Dean to start the attack. He's usually the person who gets that ball in the end, at the end of an attack, and will cross it in. Albeit that he is involved in the attack, it would be in a different way to somebody like Moreno too. Market value for him here is marked from Transfer Market at 20 million. Maybe it might be a small bit lower. I think 20 million is a bit rich for my blood at 29 years of age, and with only few years left in his contract. But for me, look, if that's what they have to pay, that's what they have to pay. You guys know me at this stage. You know that transfer fees can be amortized out over the price of contracts and so on and so forth. We won't get into that too much. So, as I say, I'm not going to spend too long here and Alex Moreno. We will be back if he is signed. I do have somebody lined up that will come and we'll talk in greater detail about Alex Moreno, about his rise in these times with his time with Mercato, obviously on towards Betis, and how he's fitted into that team and become, I suppose, a stalwart of that team under Manuel Pellegrini, and somebody, as I say, that drove them towards a Copa del Rey last season. So interesting player, as I say. I don't know whether it's the position that I would want to be strengthening first in this transfer market, but it's important to talk about these, specifically when they've been linked by three different people and at three different times. So there's a lot more to be written with regards to this. And if he signs for Aston Villa, we will have more on it then. Until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy. I hope you like this podcast. Give it a thumbs up. And until we see you again, all that's left to say is up the Villa.